call me boss.
I'm Silver, her attendant. Pleased to meet you.
And I'm Melus. Demoiselle's various daily needs and affairs are under my purview.
Huh? Boss? Demoiselle? What gives with the names?
Well, I am the second generation president. Malus and the others are still used to my previous title.
My apologies, Demoiselle. Should you prefer
No need. You don't have to call me boss.
Okay, if you say so. Not that we're members of Speed.
All merely trifling details. Never mind. Now, that's right. I've always kept an eye on the serial disappearance cases. My interest stems from a matter back from my father's time. Judging from the look of things, I find...
Really? We think so too! That's why we're looking for clues now. But how did you come to that conclusion?
Intuition, naturally. My unparalleled... Verena sure was quick to point the finger at Linny without any decisive evidence whatsoever. But that's not uncommon for her. If you remember, the Justice had to interrupt her and ask if she was pressing charges. Anyway, a trial begins the moment someone levels charges. And, of course, there was no way for...
Sounds more like you just don't...
Well, what's your opinion? All right, I've answered your question. Now, it's time you answer mine.
Wait a minute! Did that answer count?
Well, I say it does. But don't worry. In your opinion, do you think it's right to treat a trial?
Well...
And why would that be? See, Silver and Malus? I told you they'd be different.
Most astute of you, Demoiselle. I, too, think that the Traveler's response was most excellent. No matter how wonderful the script or how fervent the audience's expectations may be, the trials that go on stage here must be based in fact. And if that can be done, boss, then...
All right, that's quite enough, Malus. Now, I need to make some preparations.
Wait! Since when did we become...
Oh, well, I can be the assistant. Sure. Or your companion if...
That's more like it.
Far be it from me to brag, but I believe that you wish to save a friend.
You have a point. You're quite the talk. And what about you over there? What do you think? You seem like you've got something on your...
I have nothing to add.
Oh.
We'll be making some preparations first.
Lenny's still talking to the guards. It seems he'll have a lot of explaining to do. I think someone will be assigned to monitor us later, but that's alright. Lenny's still talking to the guard. I think someone will be...
I see that you're investigating the area. If you find any new and interesting
We don't have too many thoughts.
then why don't I...
The thud? Oh!
Yes, exactly. It wasn't terribly It's just that everyone was awaiting the results of Linny's trick with bated breath. I'm of the opinion that it may have been the sound of Linny's accomplice. Lynette, perhaps. Jumping and when the pyrotechnic...
Wait, wasn't the noise...
Perhaps the balance wasn't right. Oh, that's true.
That does remind...
The investigation team has some new findings. Turns out there's an issue with the random number selector after all.
See, I told you. What if the machine picked some big guy's seat? You think the murderer would have still made his move then?
Sorry to interrupt, but we're helping Linny and Lynette with their side of the investigation. What were you saying about the number selector? There's something wrong with it?
You're trying to help them? That'll be a tall order.
Linny used the machine to pick a random member of the audience during his performance, right? The lucky girl that later disappeared. Well, we thought there might be a serious problem with the machine, so we had it taken away for further inspection.
It turns out that the seat number it picked wasn't random at all. The machine picks that same number every time. I'm sure you already know that you have to make a reservation in advance to get a seat, regardless of whether it's a trial or some performance. In other words, Linny knew who would be sitting where from the very beginning.
That much checks out. Linny reserved our seats for us, too.
Bet you see why I was saying it'd be tough to make a case for Linny.
Even though it's bad for Linny's case, Paimon had better write it down. People needed to register and reserve. So this is the rope that broke and caused the water tank to fall. The rope looks pretty durable. How can it be burned through so quickly by fireworks? Why are you suddenly so serious, Traveler? Whoa. Look! This bit is made from different material! Most of it was burned away, but there's still a little bit of it left. Huh. So if a rope meant to hold something was made... Wait! Paimon should write a... Hello there! What are you investigating?
Oh, this location has also been cordoned off because the Magic Troop members are currently considered prime suspects. The investigation team is still collecting evidence. The seats were all booked in advance, so we were able to deduce the missing woman's identity by checking the guest list. Sure, it's not like this is confidential information. We will publish it later anyway when we petition the public to help us find the missing person. Her name is Halsey. She's a painter from Fontaine who's made a bit of a name for herself. Apparently, she wasn't a regular at the Opera House, but she'd been feeling some pressure with her work lately, which made her decide to come. The Magic Troop members all claim not to know her. We have looked into her social connections. It seems that she has no personal grievance. Simply put, she wasn't related to the Magic Troop at all, which matches the features of the previous serial disappearance.
Were the victims of previous cases also chosen at random?
That's how it seems to us, in any case. Apart from the fact that they were all young women of around the same age range, there really weren't any...
Okay then.
No need to be so formal. If you do happen to see the missing girl, it is of utmost importance that we get...
We've checked everything of note here at the performance venue. Paimon wonders how Linny's discussion with the guards is going. Let's go see, shall we?
Understood. Then I will be going with you. Just so you're aware, I will be monitoring your actions and making notes as necessary.
Very good. Thanks for being so agreeable.
You may spare the pleasantries.
You've arrived. Who's this?
Me? I'm Spina di Rosula's guardian angel. If you've got a problem, sorry, I got a little carried away there. And these are my companions. Would you mind?
Fine.
Oh, new helper?
Well, let's just say we're tagging.
I appreciate your kind interest. Come with me. We'll be heading below stage.
Huh? Below stage?
Yes, a world of secrets is hidden beneath this magic box. But before I reveal everything, you should have a look first. Notice anything strange here? I'm not trying to be dramatic. Remembering the details of a trick will help you understand.
Huh. Weren't there balloons?
Ah, good eye. That said, you're...
The back? You mean the inside of the door? What?
Very good indeed. The back of this door was patterned. Those patterns are now gone, replaced by a smooth wooden board. So, if you put 2 and 2 together, what do you get? Exactly. All right.
Oh, so there was a passageway under the magic box!
I knew you'd figure out the 2 magic boxes are positioned right above the 2 entrances of the tunnel.
This nigga
See
real
this
giddy,
the box
and
with
then
the
murk
lucky
somebody.
This trolley can...
I see.
A box fell over
Precisely.
there and killed him.
The
This
inner
nigga
box would descend after the audience
Beasley is a
member was put
motherfucker.
inside and be
What's wrong
moved
with this
along
nigga?
the trolley.
So that's how you did it!
Once the box was lowered, the trolley would store some energy through this device here, with which it would complete the rest of the steps. The audience member would only be able to feel some slight movements in the dark, and by the time she walked out, she would already be back on stage.
Right! You were talking that whole time, and you even came out for a moment near the end!
Ah, yes. A phonograph operated by Lynette was used to achieve that effect. My assistant and I had already scripted our conversation beforehand. When the countdown began, I had already gone to the opposite box via a tunnel using that ladder.
And what about Lynette? Where was she?
I was in the mezzanine space in the back of the box.
Oh, interesting!
That's how we were able to coordinate Linny's lines with the assistant. And by the way,
I mean, we are twins. All it takes is a change of clothes, and that's my favorite part of this trick. Only Lynette and I can perform it.
So that's how it all worked! Wow!
Lynette would briefly walk out of the box and then go back in, jumping into the tunnel and escaping before the box on the... And then I walk out of the other box in the audience area, and the trick would be complete. The operative word here being would. But as you saw, Cal was in the box, not our audience member. She, on the other hand, mysteriously vanished.
We really don't know how that happened.
If not for that interlude, this would have been an astonishing trick. I probably never would have figured out how you pulled it off. And yet, to think that someone was able to use this magic trick to commit a crime. Could we have a look around? I think we can come up with some more leads.
This is the scene of the crime, so Linny and Lynette are not permitted to stay here. I'll escort them back up.
Yes, of course. No need to be so strict now.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, her clothes are here, but she's nowhere to be found.
Right. And do you... Ugh. This...
Brother, this type of quest is not for me. I don't know.
The floor is wet. Please be careful not to slip.
Speaking of which...
How inventive Genshin Impact they did.
And here's a broken...
I appreciate the effort, but brother. More ass kicking, less talking, yapping. Oh
Looks like a
yes.
hook tied to the end of a rope. Huh?
Perhaps it was a prop for...
Whatever it... What is this place?
It seems someone could fit through.
Could this...
Alone, perhaps. But if they had to pull another person with them...
But there are no other ways in or out of here. Oh, you're right. Let Paimon write that down. Seems we're just about done and...
Yes, let's head back up.
Yeah, get me out of here, please. This is ridiculous.
Well, we've ascertained the state of the crime scene. Let's find a place to sort out our findings once Malus returns. Seems to me that there are several things that don't add up here.
Apologies for the wait, demoiselle.
So, what did the guards say? Did the criminal escape through the vent?
They believe the odds of that are very low, since the vent leads to the Opera House's basement. The guards have checked the area carefully. No one left through the basement during the performance or after the incident, and no one was found hiding there.
So the tunnels become like a secret chamber then. You know, like the kind you usually see in novels.
The plot thickens. Halsey's disappearance and Cowell's death are both quite inexplicable. No wonder Farina was so confident in her accusation. All the current evidence points toward Linny and Lynette.
In other words, the charges are very likely to be upheld unless we make some considerable progress.
Charges? And then trial. So if the charges are upheld, they'll announce a sentence?
That's right. This is how a trial goes in the Opera House. That's right. This is how indemnitium is produced. The statements from both sides, the defenses from attorneys, witness testimonies, and even the audience's emotions will all be projected on the oratrice. To put it simply, it's as if the oratrice has its own will, and is a judge in its own right.
This also precludes any kind of favoritism on the part of the Chief Justice. Not that this has ever happened anyway.
Once both sides have finished speaking, the Chief Justice will make his final decision. This, too, will be used by the oratrice as a reference. Then, finally, the oratrice will be consulted by officials. The result it returns is the will of justice itself.
Huh? So that machine is the one that actually decides? Paimon thought Neuvillette called the shots.
In practice, there is very little difference. Both have always come to the same judgment, which is why people have great faith in the Chief Justice. Ah, yes, the guards also asked me to convey that none of us will be allowed to leave this place before the trial.
Huh? Why?
Because we've chosen to act as the twins' proxies. That makes us persons related to the case.
They're concerned that we might be colluding with outside parties, or that we might find outside help to disrupt the case. And even if that were not so, it could prove problematic if we happen to spread key information about the case ahead of time.
I'm ready to break out at any time.
Whoa! There's no need for that! Paimon thinks they have a point. That said, are they providing food?
Of course. I just hope you don't mind the lack of options. I'm afraid that catering to all tastes is not in the cards, nor is any guarantee of balanced nutrition.
In that case, let's just sort out our findings together here. Pity. I was hoping to take you to try some of Fontaine's famous desserts, too. I mean, what better way to properly think through our findings than over some tea and sweets?
Huh. Breaking out suddenly doesn't seem like such a bad idea after all. Just kidding! Just kidding! Paimon will still do her best, even if there are no snacks.
Hmm? What do you mean, no snacks? Of course we'll have snacks. If we cannot buy some, then we'll simply make some.
Huh? Here? But how?
Understood, Demoiselle. Everyone, please come with me.
Wait, you're carrying a portable stove with you?
Yes, I must be prepared.
I have eggs, sugar, and almonds.
Good work, you two.
These three are quite the interesting group. And Paimon thought it smelled good while it was still in the oven. From the way you had these two guys carrying all that stuff around, Paimon thought you'd have them do more, but you ended up doing the entire thing by yourself. Beating.
I was applauding.
And I was giving encouraging smiles.
Paimon was.
Oh, don't underestimate beating egg weights, by the way. It's a real arm workout. You also need to beat them to... Anyway, give these a try.
Only 3?
Well, eating too many sweet treats might send all that sugar to your head.
Tea is ready to be served as well. This is no need for concern.
All right, then. However, the magician twins...
Exactly! Why would they...
The flower vase and the resulting in the shattering. Perhaps the criminal thought that since she was.
Paimon thinks that makes...
True, but.
Huh. Could Halsey...
That's right. And even if she had to, nor does she have.
From the sound of your macarons are... What?
Please don't worry about it. At my...
No, besides, Paimon knows that if she ate... Wait, even you don't believe Paimon? How could you? If Paimon ate those 2 extra macarons, then may they turn into stone in her stomach!
All right, we get it. Well, I suppose one of us might have gotten too engrossed in our chat and eaten them by mistake. No big deal. Malus, set up the stove again if you would.
Huh? What are you doing?
Making sure everyone gets 3 macarons, of course.
Exactly. We don't want to trouble you.
As you wish, demoiselle.
And I have the egg, sugar, and almonds.
Well, this really is your hobby, huh?
Well, that's it for snack time. I'm going to have another look around the area. I don't know what we're looking for yet, but we've still got some time. As attorneys, I suggest the 2 of you think the case over again. It would be awkward if you got all tongue-tied on stage during the trial.
All right, thanks for your help and for the snacks.
It was nothing. A small task for the Spina di Rosula. Silver, Malus, it's time to go. I'll be back if I find anything new.
All right, it's time to put our heads together. We've got to get our defense ready for the trial. Oh, it's probably gonna...
This is terrible, guys. I'm sorry. You know, people may be enjoying the quest when I put it up on YouTube. I'm pretty sure, you know, people are gonna enjoy the story. It's a great story. I kind of just want to fight. I kind of just want to fight. Oh my god. So much talk. Respect the Genshin Impact. Putting all this dialogue together, making this game like this, and so much depth. I personally
do? The whole situation is so
I don't care, brother.
confusing. Good plan. Impossible things don't just happen. We'll get to the truth one way or another.
Just relax. Even if everyone else suspects Lenny and Lynette, at least we will be supporting them from the stands. Besides, I doubt Farina understands any more about what happened than we do.
Thanks, Navia. Well, we'll be going then.
Best of luck to you.
Ah, finally, you're back. Well, how did your investigation go?
To be honest, you might be disappointed.
No. We're already very grateful that you were willing to help.
Well now, don't you all look disappointed? Don't tell me that your investigation came up empty-handed. That was to be expected, of course. The guilty can never produce proof of their innocence. But don't let that stop you. I shall be terribly disappointed should you, my most anticipated foe, concede so easily.
Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic show incident is now in session. Firstly, in order for the audience to understand the causes and results of the incident, could we please have Mr. Linney explain the trick?
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage. All the...
Thank you, Mr. Linney. In that case, I take your statement to be that you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick began, and thus could not have committed the crime. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution. Lady Farina, do you wish to refute his statement in any way?
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Linney is clearly lying. There is no way you could have been in the box the whole time if you were to abduct Halsey and murder Cowell. In fact, I'd say you were hardly in that tunnel at all.
That is simply your hypothesis.
Not so. And if I may ask, what did you...
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built anticipation.
And you didn't hear anything else at all? Nothing that might...
No, nothing.
I see. But when the count reached 30 seconds or so, there was a thud.
Huh?
Hey, hang on. Something's not...
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a noise that loud from inside the box.
I was right by the box, and I definitely heard the thud.
Look at those scales. Could those mean...
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to use the words of the magician himself. Of course, I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundations are rock solid. Tell me, aren't you and Lynette actually from the
The House of the Hearth?
No wonder they did something like this.
So the serial disappearances were the Fatui's doing. Now it...
I've got a feeling that what happened on stage probably wasn't...
That's irrelevant. Our identities have nothing to do with what happened.
Indeed. Then perhaps you could tell us your first priority is to prove yourself innocent after all. I'm sure... The Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted? Now comes the... Good thing I made all those preparations. Seems...
Hey, Linney.
Order! Order! Mr. Linney, first, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Second, you and Ms. Lynette are both members. Are these claims... Please answer my...
I'm sorry. Yes, they're true.
I knew it.
Well, that's it. We might as well move on to the...
What should we do now?
Granted. In that case, what is your request?
Is that really necessary?
The defendant deceived their own attorneys.
Order! Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn.
So you would stick to Mr. Linney's defense even after knowing what you do now? In that case, my dear audience, let's allow the joy of...
Well, this is awkward. I didn't think I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Paimon, did we based our entire reasoning on the assumption not to set the wrong tone or...
I'm very sorry. I know I know you've clashed with the Vatui several times before, but our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have...
Right now, we want to save people.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you, but chose to hide some details, and the truth is very important, but being completely transparent about everything would see us spending more effort than... Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, if I were you, I fear you met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster by trade, but still, I'm asking you to trust...
Sorry. Please.
Well, you both say it right. Let's hear your answer first.
Of course. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a consciousness. Why can it deliver sentence? During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick, with the objective of getting
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to the... So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to investigate...
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel,
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was about to investigate, I heard someone's voice. Which should have been impossible, of course. I was quite certain that That voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on this. On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground. But the countdown was almost finished, so there wasn't... After that, the hum...
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that...
That's the only way we can save...
So, there you have it. The whole truth. It was never my wish to proceed under this... But, like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave because you don't trust the fatigue...
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Okay.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are... If we want to refute the Hydro Archon... Huh?
Both parties have returned to their position. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her
That at this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective. As the countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which he did not realize that this sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why he claimed early. Finally, he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clothes to prevent... At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise. So Linney proceeded to knock him out too before... Afterward, Linney passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice. And there you have it.
Does the defendant's side have any objections to Lady Farina's description of the events?
The key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events, what Linney experienced and what he saw. Seems this won't produce a part. According to Linny, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel. He couldn't have had that altercation with Halsey. Linny went to the room that contains the Oratrice's core. Seems Linny did not take part in the underground altercation. He only witnessed...
Attention! When the countdown started, but he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where, once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been the crime scene had already developed by the time. Finally, he reached the surface. Paimon did it!
In other words, you believe...
That's right!
My reasoning?
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the assuming that what you say is true, Linny only needed to kidnap the young girl to come.
Oh.
That's right, you tell him! Well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But what proof do you have? Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, you're saying that he wasn't?
That's right! Linny wasn't in the box or in the tunnel. That's why he didn't. This means that when the crime happened, the same clue you used to disprove his alibi.
Well played. To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Linny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
Halsey is the missing person and an ordinary... The deceased's name is Cowell. Could there have been a third person involved? The deceased's name is Cowell.
That can't be...
Oh, is that...
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did, and how he went from would-be purple... The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrance. It would have been tough for both people to... The sound we heard may have come from... The sound we heard may have come from a clash, but... It would have been tough for both people to fit into that... The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrance. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel, so there must have been some fear that... Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment. The deceased's name is Cowl. No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrances. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. Linny was not in the tunnel. The sound we heard may have come from a clap. No one entered or left. The deceased's name is Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal... The deceased's name is Cowl. Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment. It would have been tough for both people. The deceased's name is Cowl, Linny's assistant. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel, so there must have been some fear that she would attract attention. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have bumped into Linny as well. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. No one entered or left. It would have been tough for both people to fit. Halsey's clothing was in the
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble?
Look, since we're at a dead end, just like the trick is
If only we knew.
Well, that would be nice, but it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real...
Excuse...
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing The deceased's name is Cowl, Linny's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with... vase was not broken by chance.
Paimon gets it! It all comes together! Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving all. If there's a similar method where a person.
Just how could a person ever be transformed into water? This is reality. Must we really? Magic tricks are all.
Even so, I trust the traveler's judgment. The truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of. Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at his belongings, would it?
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of the rope. The way I see it, your suggestion.
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may help us make more progress. Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the personal effects of the deceased, Cowell.
We are still examining the items, but we have already made critical progress that we feel must be shared with everyone post-haste. We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage, each labeled separately. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are water from the primordial sea.
The primordial sea?
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had an accomplice. The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appears many times. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. It is empty. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of test subject. As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact, supported by sufficient evidence.
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving into water?
Could something so ridiculous actually be true?
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy.
Huh. If people can become water, does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? Wait just a minute. Could that mean... You two, with me, quick!
Demoiselle, wait! What about your partners?
Let's go. Just trust me.
Order! Order! It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's personal effects. Still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit with the understanding that Ms. Halsey has yet to be... Guards, please continue examining the items along Mr. Linney. It appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence, so please continue.
Of course. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this case's seemingly unrelated clues can be connected together.
Right! Like the metal hook! That one didn't make sense at all. Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that.
deceased's name is Cowell. Linny's a... Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant... The water from the primordial sea should already have been... Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire time. I remember there was something...
Ahem! It's Ace Detective Paimon's time to shine again! In the original plan, Cowell would tamper with the water tank rope and the number selector securing his target. When the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, when the balloon attached afterward, Cowell would... But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel and wound up being fatally hit by the same water tank he meant to use to cover his tracks.
Huh. That does make sense.
That actually links together a lot of the more confusing pieces of evidence.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now. Have I falsely accused an innocent person?
Now, it seems like the only point of contention remaining is the exact circumstances that led to Cal's death. His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to the...
On that note, the guards have just contacted me indicating that I shall now invite him on stage to...
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just inspecting the luggage of the other people involved in this case. And we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea among Linny's personal effects.
What?
That can't be.
Oh, I see. Well, does this not... My dear Linny did not need to take part in the dissolution of the young woman at all, having made modifications to the props before that. Upon his return, in cruel avarice, Linny desired sole credit and prepared to do away with his partner in crime. Ultimately, he knocked Cowell out. Now, as much as I regret... Am I right?
We've used up all the evidence we collect. Is this the end of...
Oh no! Seems using the water is...
I think we've all seen... I believe this is indeed the finale... Now then, my good, no... Excuse me, everyone!
Miss, I must ask you not to shout.
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason. I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared back in the flesh. What in...
No offense, miss, but miracles like that are...
Come on now, don't be silly. But once everyone believes the illusion, can't magic reveal the truth to them one? And wouldn't such a trick... Come on, Linny and Lynette. Give it another go. But as the magic makers and stars of the show...
I understand.
And voila!
Sorry for the interruption.
Wait, isn't that Halsey? So...
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of doing so... I was hiding outside this room listening to the proceedings because I was afraid that I was just feeling happy that no one had noticed me.
That'll teach you to underestimate...
Where should I begin? Firstly, my name isn't Halsey. It's Lil. I heard that Linny's show was gonna be a real thriller, but that's how I make a living. I steal stuff here and there. But I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and I barely got away.
Hey, no wonder you look familiar. Liddy even mentioned that you were pretty skilled.
Well, and I thought that would have been the end of it, but then he even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how. So I played along with the show while looking for an opening to flee. But then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then someone jumped into the tunnel to nab me. I wasn't going to take that lying down, so I knocked him out and stuffed him into the box. There was nowhere to run from there, though, so I had to change my clothes and hide in a box containing performance. I slipped out after the first guard arrived at the scene and Can
a person even hide in there?
But I swear, I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Had I known that, I wouldn't have put him in the magic box.
Well, that makes everything pretty clear now, doesn't it?
This time, we need to tell the... The strange sound wasn't from a fight. It was Lily... The flower vase was not broken to cover anything up, but it was smashed. Lillian was afraid that she would be wrecked.
And it's instant! Having been selected out of the blue, her panic only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water. Hearing the commotion, Cowell leapt into the tunnel, only to discover that Lillian had not dissolved. He did not know that mistakenly believed the two broke with no way of escape. She knew that
she had already become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting.
At this point, all the...
so bravo!
Now then, Lady Farina. Please answer the question, Lady Farina. Also, if I may add, the trial has not yet ended.
What are... No, I have no further argument.
Wow, look at that!
If there are no objections, then as the Chief Justice of Fontaine, I shall once again the actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowell. With some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the precinct to cover up any evidence while committing the deed. He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank. Using the fireworks at the end of the he poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box and stuck it to the box's lid. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman. When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Lillian was not from Fontaine, and thus fled the box with a loud noise. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Lillian. Thinking that the waters had not yet taken effect, he decided to proceed. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic box. Lillian, according to her own statements, then changed clothes and hid until the performance ended, before hiding in other parts of the opera house. As for Linny, he was in the underground structures within the opera house. From this reconstruction of events, while there is much in Linny and Lillian's conduct, this case at least can be handed over to the Oratrice to make the final decision. As such, Linny and...
work,
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Next, I think we How did you find the water from the...
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake, you know. Or was that not a discovery?
I suspect that the accomplice mentioned in Cowell's notes was not Linny. I'm sure you know what you must do to let...
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself a one-way...
I was just... We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Linny, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui. The higher-ups said this was the...
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, you have become a liability. Therefore, you would be wise to tell everything you know, and seek the protection of...
Yes! Our boss discovered that the water can cause people to... It can also be made into a potion, which when extremely diluted, can cause people to experience... We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent more...
And now he can no longer...
Such ruthlessness.
An outrageous. All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
So, we're just going back now? That's...
Traveler, Paimon! Please wait.
Winnie...
I know you may not want to speak to me right now. Maybe you don't but still. Let me thank you again for defending, I guess. But I didn't approach you with any ulterior motives, or as for why I'm a Fatus, it's because the goals of the House of the Hearth align with those of an orphan. That was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached recruiting us back then too.
A knave? The one who controls...
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering. Back when our parents first died, Lynette and I, to survive, I took my sister through several streets until, to my surprise, we proved before long an aristocrat.
So you went from orphans to...
That was how we felt at first too. As if... But I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, he would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner it.
That doesn't seem too bad either.
It took a while. After one particular performance at a banquet, I discovered that Lynette... I waited a long time after we returned home, but she did not come back. The answer he gave me was, she caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet, so I sent her over as a gift. I mean, you'll be able to perform your magic regardless of...
Oh no. But wouldn't Fontaine's laws...
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to adoption or foster care. And I managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person, and hurried through the night. All I saw was the moonlit ground covered in blood.
So, she'd already taken care of...
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could come to any harm, and had even discovered several girls hidden in... Father, I mean, the Knave, might have seen something in me, and so she made me an offer. The House of the Hearth welcomes you. For your interests, I was hesitant to trust her. I mean, I had just... But she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first.
Oh, so that's how the two of you joined the House of the Hearth.
She has gained permission from the Tsaritsa to first use the Gnosis' power when she obtains it. She plans to use it to find a way to break the prophecy and save...
So, she...
That's right. The whole House of the Hearth is currently working to come... Today's case has also proven that people from Fontaine can indeed dissolve into some sort of water. Thus further... Everyone at Hotel Bouffe d'été, including the Knave, has their roots in Fontaine. To us orphans, the only...
So, from small deeds like distributing magic...
It's alright. I just hope you can understand if you should need anything at all in the future.
Bye, Linny!
Yeah, we don't fuck with the Fatui like that, so you know, it's some sob story shit. We supposed to be cool, man. We beefing.
with the disappearing act you pulled right as the trial ended?
Were you looking for us now?
Well, this whole thing isn't exactly over, is it? I do feel that we're... Huh? What's wrong, my dear partner?
Besides, are you sure we're the ones? And given that there's new evidence from the trial, there's...
Ah, I see. Well, I won't lie. I'm a little sorry. I might have been...
Don't say that now.
Ah, and we were having so much fun investigating with you, too. It was like having new waters flowing into a stagnant... Wait.
Huh?
Well, Anyway, it would just be a meal.
You don't have to...
Oh, wonderful.
All right, then. Let's have our farewell meal.
Okay, that was a terribly long quest. I actually hope y'all enjoyed it, because I didn't. Okay. What do we got? So I can at least get a wish. What is this? That's the wind it down. So do I have any? Just 30. Couple premium gems. So you have enough for a wish? Yeah, I did just get a wish just now. Anything? That is not fire. I think we are good. I was gonna go up on YouTube. Thank y'all for watching. Like, subscribe, and hope y'all enjoyed